I still remember the sound of the hostess's voice breaking before my heart did. Not loud, not cruel, just firm enough to end a celebration before it began. "Sir, I'm sorry, we don't have a table for you." On my 70th birthday, I stood there smiling like a fool, holding a wrapped gift no one planned to open. I had imagined this night for months. Not because I wanted candles or applause, but because I wanted proof that I still mattered. That after 70 years of giving, sacrificing, forgiving, I hadn't become invisible. The restaurant was warm, golden lights reflecting off polished wood, the kind of place my late wife loved. The kind where memories sat quietly in corners, waiting to be touched. I arrived early, like she always did. Habit dies slower than love. I told the hostess my name. She typed it in again. And again. Her smile thinned. "I don't see your reservation, sir." That word, sir, landed heavier than it should have. I laughed softly, embarrassed. "It's under Michael. 7 o'clock. My daughter made it weeks ago." Another pause. Another look toward the back. "I'm really sorry." Behind me, people shifted. A couple glanced at their watches. Somewhere, a child laughed. Life moved forward while mine stalled at the entrance. I told myself not to make a scene. At 70, dignity becomes something you guard fiercely. I stepped aside, gripping the small gift bag tighter than necessary. Inside was a watch I'd bought for myself. Something solid, something that would outlast me. I texted my daughter, Emma. No reply. That's when I saw him. Daniel. He was already seated near the window, half turned, scanning the room like he was looking for someone. When his eyes met mine, they widened with relief. He stood immediately. "Michael, there you are." I was worried. Daniel wasn't family by blood, but he might as well have been. He'd been my neighbor for years after my wife passed. A single father, raising his son alone after his wife left suddenly. We bonded over grief, over quiet evenings, over fixing things neither of us really knew how to fix. He helped me after my surgery. I helped him when his car broke down. Trust grew slowly, but deeply. "What's wrong?" he asked softly. I hesitated, tried again, then I shrugged. "They don't have my reservation." He frowned. "That's strange. Emma told me everything was set." That made my stomach tighten. Emma had told him. Daniel walked to the hostess, spoke calmly. Too calmly. I watched their faces shift, hers confused, his focused. He glanced back at me once, then nodded. "She says there's been a mix-up," he said, returning. "They're checking with the manager." The manager came out moments later. A woman in her 40s, professional smile carefully worn. "Mr. Michael," she said, already knowing my name. "Happy birthday. I apologize for the inconvenience." I waited for the fix. The explanation. The apology that mattered. But tonight is fully booked. The words settled like dust. Daniel stepped closer. "There has to be something you can do. He's 70 today." The manager looked past him, to me, with something I couldn't quite name. "Pity, calculation, we can offer you takeout," she said gently. "Or you're welcome to wait. Perhaps a table may open later." Later. On my birthday. I nodded, because that's what I've always done. Accepted less. Made myself smaller. Daniel looked angry, but restrained. He guided me to a bench near the entrance. "I'll handle this," he said. "Let me make a call." As he walked away, I noticed something odd. He didn't pull out his phone immediately. He looked toward the dining room instead, toward the private section in the back. Toward a table already set. Emma still hadn't replied. I sat there, watching strangers celebrate. Toasts clinked. Laughter rose. A server lit candles at a nearby table, the flames reflecting in my tired eyes. I wondered when birthdays started hurting more than they healed. My mind drifted. To my wife. To promises made. To children grown distant. To all the times I showed up even when it was inconvenient. After a few minutes, Daniel returned, but he wasn't alone. His son, Noah, trailed behind him, holding a small paper crown. He must have asked the staff for it. "Happy birthday, Mr. M," Noah said shyly. I smiled despite myself. "Thank you, buddy." Daniel knelt beside me. "Listen, something doesn't feel right." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He glanced around, lowering his voice. "Emma didn't just make a reservation. She requested a specific table. The one in the back." My heart skipped. "Why?" Before he could answer, I heard my name. "Dad." Emma stood near the bar. She looked startled, like she'd walked into something she didn't expect to see. "Emma," I said, standing. Relief flooded me before confusion could catch up. She glanced at Daniel, then at the hostess, then back at me. Her smile was thin. I thought you'd already be seated, she said. Daniel's jaw tightened. The manager reappeared, whispering something to Emma. Emma's face hardened. She nodded once. Daniel leaned closer to me then, so close I could smell the coffee on his breath. His voice was barely audible. Michael, he whispered, whatever happens next, don't agree to anything until you hear the whole truth. I opened my mouth to ask what he meant, but Emma was already walking toward us, and that was the moment I realized, this night was never meant to celebrate me, solid, protective. Emma noticed. Her eyes flickered with irritation before she forced a smile. Daniel, thank you for helping, she said. But this is family business. Daniel met her gaze calmly. He asked me to stay. I hadn't, not out loud, but I didn't correct him. We were led to a quiet corner near the hallway to the restrooms. The music faded there. The laughter dimmed. It felt like stepping behind a curtain, where the truth waits without makeup. Emma exhaled sharply. Dad, the reservation issue, it's complicated. I chuckled weakly. Everything seems to be these days. She glanced around, making sure no one was listening. This dinner wasn't exactly for you alone. The words stung more than I expected. What does that mean? Daniel's jaw tightened again. He folded his arms, a subtle barrier. Emma lowered her voice. I booked the table as part of a larger arrangement. A meeting, I repeated. On my birthday. She winced. I thought we could combine things. Be efficient. 70 years of life reduced to a scheduling opportunity. Daniel spoke up. You told me this was a celebration. Emma shot him a look. I didn't ask you to get involved. No, he replied evenly. But you did ask me to help convince him to come. My chest tightened. Convince me to come where? Silence fell between us, thick and uncomfortable. Emma rubbed her temple. Dad, I didn't think it would go like this. The restaurant messed up the seating, and now the people I invited are already here. People, not family, not friends. Who? I asked. She hesitated just a second too long. A potential investor, she said finally. And someone from the assisted living facility. The words echoed in my head. Assisted living. Daniel's eyes widened slightly. He looked at me, then back at Emma. You're kidding. Emma straightened. I'm being practical. Dad lives alone. He forgets things. He fell last winter. I tripped on ice, I said quietly. And what if next time you don't get up? She pressed. I'm trying to secure his future. By ambushing him, Daniel asked. Emma's voice sharpened. This doesn't concern you. It concerns him, Daniel said, nodding toward me. And he didn't know. I felt dizzy. The golden lights suddenly seemed harsh, unforgiving. Emma, you invited strangers to my birthday to talk about putting me somewhere else. Her eyes filled, not with guilt, but frustration. I didn't want to ruin the evening. I almost laughed. That's why the hostess didn't have a table for me, I said slowly. Because the table wasn't really mine. She looked away. Daniel leaned closer to me again, his voice steady but urgent. Michael, this is what I was trying to tell you. The reservation was under her name, not yours. Something cracked inside me then. Not loudly, just enough to let the cold in. All evening, I'd blamed the restaurant. Fate, bad luck. I never imagined my own daughter had erased me from the guest list. The manager approached cautiously, sensing the tension. Everything all right? Emma forced a smile. Yes, we just need a moment. The manager nodded, but her eyes lingered on me, curious, assessing. Daniel straightened. Actually, he said, we're done here. Emma snapped her head toward him. What? He turned to me. Michael, you don't have to do this. You don't have to sit at a table where you're the topic, not the guest. I swallowed hard. Emma, is this true? Were you going to talk about facilities tonight? She hesitated again, then nodded. Eventually. After dinner. After dessert. After the candles burned down. I thought of my wife. Of how she used to say, don't talk about heavy things when people are hungry or tired. Emma had chosen my birthday. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. Because you would have said no, she replied honestly. Daniel scoffed softly. So you tricked him. Emma's voice rose. I did what I thought was best. People nearby began to glance over. I felt suddenly exposed. Small. Daniel stepped forward, his tone calm but firm. Best for who? That question hung in the air. Emma opened her mouth, then closed it. I looked at my daughter. Really looked. The woman she'd become. Efficient. Strategic. Afraid of messiness. Afraid of watching her father age in real time. I raised you to be strong, I said quietly. Not to be sneaky. Her eyes filled with tears now, real ones. I'm scared, Dad. So am I replied. But fear doesn't give you the right to decide my life without me. The manager cleared her throat awkwardly. Sir, would you like me to prepare a table now? There has been a cancellation. Emma's head snapped up. There has. The manager nodded. Yes, near the window. The same window where Daniel had been sitting. Daniel smiled faintly. Funny how that works. Emma looked between us, realization dawning. You gave up your table. Daniel shrugged. It was never my night. I felt my throat tighten. Daniel, you didn't have to. I know, he said gently. But I wanted to. Emma's face flushed with something like shame. The manager gestured. Shall I? I looked at Emma, then at Daniel, then at the softly lit table waiting by the window. For a moment, I considered sitting down, letting the night continue, pretending nothing had broken. Instead, I shook my head. No, I said, I think I'm done here. Emma's eyes widened. Dad, I'll talk to you later, I said calmly. When there aren't strangers listening. When I'm not being managed. Daniel placed a hand on my shoulder. Solid, reassuring. As we turned to leave, Emma whispered, You're making a mistake. I paused at the door. Didn't turn around. Maybe, I said, but at least it's my mistake. Outside, the night air was cool. Quiet, honest. Daniel walked beside me in silence for a few steps. Then he spoke. You okay? I nodded slowly. I think I just lost something tonight. He looked at me gently. Or maybe, you found it. I didn't answer. I just kept walking. Away from the lights, away from the table that was never meant for me, carrying a gift I would finally open myself.